Hello, today is Thursday. It is the 3rd day of January 2013. I'm on theprovince.com, and the article is Canada's nickel the next coin to be retired? The photo shows pennies from Canada, some of which copper, like this one, this one, this one. This one that looks like it's copper. This one, it's probably either copper or zinc, but the penny is retired. A handful of pennies in Toronto, Thursday, March 29th of last year, as the penny is set to begin retirement next month. There are already calls to put the nickel out to pasture as well. So let's read this article from Ottawa. As the penny is set to begin retirement next month, there are already calls to put the nickel out to pasture as well. Now, before we move on, we'll end this quote for now. The nickel is not a new name. From my research, I guess they called it a 5-cent piece back in the day. After all, it used to be made out of silver. And then in Canada, shortly later in the United States, they would put nickel into the 5-cent pieces, thus calling them nickel. Pennies in Canada up to 1981 were made of pure bullion nickel, 99.9% nickel. And then from 1982 up to 99, and even for some years in 2000 and up to 2004, the nickel would contain quarter nickel, 3/4 copper, and then it was moved to steel. So let's move on to the article. The Royal Canadian Mint starts collecting 1-cent coins on February the 4th for melting and recycling of the metal content, with some 6 billion pennies expected to be surrendered by Canadians over the next 6 years. Personally, myself, I will not surrender any pennies that contain copper or zinc. Finance Minister Jim Flaherty announced the surprise demise in last year's budget, saying that the penny has become a nuisance. Nuisance is defined as, there is no real good definition here, but something that is just annoying and everything, I guess. The reason why I say that is because I think it's a little annoying having a economic model that guarantees mass suffering. I'm not a big fan of that. I know that sounds odd that I'm not a fan of it, but hey, what can you say? A former Bank of Canada economist says the nickel is also becoming obsolete. Obsolete is defined as the state of being which occurs where an object, service, or practice is no longer wanted, even though it may still be in good working order, and should be in line for retirement. There'll be a day when the whole fiat system will be obsolete, but you know what? The way the masses are acting right now, I might be wrong on that. We see less and less people now digging in their wallets for nickels. And that's interesting. I want to stop this for a second. We're in a day and age now where everything is so easily done digitally, where you don't even need to not only have the nickels, pennies, quarters, loonies, which are $1 coins, then even the fiat notes, but you can just do it in the computer. However, how easy would it have been 150 years ago to buy a dozen eggs with gold? It's hard. It's extremely hard. Today, that would be easy. For, I could say, a dozen eggs of gold, or a dozen eggs of would cost such a small fraction of gold. Well, if you happen to have gold in a account like a bank account, they could take out 0.000 whatever ounces of gold out of your account. But back, of course, to the article. A retired 30-year-old veteran of the Bank of Canada, Aubrey, has been a leading proponent of withdrawing the 1-cent piece from circulation. And in papers and presentations from Desjardins Group over the last few years, Aubrey used economic models to show that the penny should actually have been killed in about 1982. Well, it actually kind of was killed in 1982, because in 81 it contained that of copper. And then 82, I guess it still contained copper, but not as much. Oh, they killed it in the United States. So that, yeah, they went from copper to zinc in 82. They killed it there. That was a tipping point as more Canadians hoarded the coins, and the Royal Canadian Mint was pressed to churn out billions more to keep retailers stocked, costing the government up to $11 million annually. The last 4 pennies minted on May 4th in Winnipeg were costing about 1.6 cents each to manufacture. Aubrey also estimates retailers, banks, and consumers have absorbed about $140 million in handling costs each year, creating an unnecessary drag on the economy. Unnecessary, let's define that. A need is something that is necessary for organisms. Okay, so something that is not necessary for organisms to live a healthy life. Fiat currency, that's not necessary. And that's, of course, my calculated opinion. Even though Finance Canada faces a one-time net cost of $38 million to retire the penny, the long-term savings to government and to the economy will be substantial. Let's do a definition of economy. An economy consists of the economic system of a country or the other area, the labor, capital, and land resources, and the manufacturing, production, trade, distribution, and consumption of goods and services of that area. Okay, so we're talking about getting good economies, and let's talk about our goods that we have currently, putting GMOs in a lot of the foods that we are in, technological or planned obsolescence. That's not good for economy. But again, that's my calculated opinion. Aubrey argues the nickel will soon hit the same tipping point the penny did in 1982 as Canadians hoard them in greater numbers, forcing the Mint to distribute up to $350 million each year to meet retail demand, which, quite frankly, is 10 nickels a person with a population of around 35 million in Canada. It's a sign that the coin is not well used, he said. The Royal Canadian Mint has teamed in recent years with Coinstar Inc. to place automated coin sorting and counting kiosks in grocery stores and other retail outlets to prod Canadians into circulating coins now stuck in jars and drawers. Most of these recycled coins are pennies, but many are nickels. I'm going to stop right here. I haven't read this article yet. I'm reading it now for the first time. I doubt they will talk about metal content too much within this video. A spokesman for vending machine operators told a Senate committee in 2010 that Canada should jump that little used nickel. As far as our industry is concerned, eliminating the penny is a good step and a smart decision, said Kim Lockie, the then president of the Canadian Automatic Merchandising Association. We suggest the nickel will go at the same time. If there's a little bit of a problem, we get it all over with at once. A spokesman for Finance Canada, David Barnaby, said Wednesday the government has no plans to eliminate the 5-cent coin. New Zealand successfully eliminated its 5-cent piece in 2006 after dumping its 1 and 2 cent coins. And still, at least 2009, the government has been considering whether to follow suit by killing its own 5-cent coin, millions of which have actually been manufactured by the Royal Canadian Mint for a profit. Aubrey, now with the Quebec-based Cyrenaico Inter-University Research Centre, says eliminating Canada's nickel could be part of a larger strategy to retool the currency. That would include creating a new coin to replace the $5 bill, adding a 20-cent coin, come on, eliminating the quarter, perhaps creating a $200 bill, and reducing all coin size significantly to ease the burden on pockets. Okay, I'm confused here, because why would you want to ease the burden on people when we have a fiat debt-based system that guarantees the burden on the pockets? Okay, maybe you just want it so it's just eased a little bit. It's confusing for me because, well, when you have central bankers that are the only ones that are allowed to mine fiat debt notes, then, and one other person makes it, they count it counterfeit dollars, which means it's illegal, you go to prison, all that stuff, which means only they can create it, thus that's guaranteed because they have a policy of usury. But first, he says Canadians must be convinced that the disappearance of the penny will have no effect on inflation. This is showing us what inflation is, the fact that not only did they get rid of the penny, the nickel as well. There used to be a day and age not too long ago where a nickel was a good day's work, a couple centuries ago. Now it's just junk because, of course, of inflation. The Finance Department has offered guidelines for rounding off cash prices to the nearest nickel, but will neither set rules nor policy retailers. Electronic payments such as those on credit cards will not be rounded. The penny remains legal tender indefinitely through will gradually disappear from cash register tills over the next few years. About 35 billion have been minted in the last 100 plus years. Some businesses may decline to accept pennies next month, as there is no federal requirement they do so. Some financial institutions may also require that they redeem coins to be rolled. Canada will eventually become a cashless society, Aubrey said, but not anytime soon. Physical money will be around for a long time. Another 50 years probably is said. Cash is anonymous, and that's a property a lot of people do like. And that's interesting. I'm going to stop it right there. People like cash, which means they like fiat debt notes, which means they like guaranteed suffering. I don't understand that. Why would you like something that destroys the masses at a large degree, especially when you're one of the masses getting destroyed? I don't understand it. I really don't. Later this year, the Bank of Canada will introduce a new $5 bill as part of a series of polymer banknotes that are harder to counterfeit and last longer. Let's look at the definition of counterfeit. To counterfeit means to imitate something. This is the biggest imitation of money that I have ever seen in my life, and thank you for tuning in.